Morning, folks. We're going live here in just a moment on the radio. Just wanted to say hey and get things rolling in just moments. Behind the scenes live stream is about to do it. We're going to do the live radio show on Wood Radio here, West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay, and then we'll also do the after show. And you are in luck. Both are headed your way. Stand by.
Downtown Grand Rapids. We're talking about what matters most to you in West Michigan. Join the conversation now at 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barclay on Wood Radio.
Hey, lots of ground to cover this morning. We'll get the latest big announcement from the candidate for governor running against Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. Republican Tudor Dixon, who's called for the resignation of a very important figure in the Whitmer administration. We'll get into that. That happened yesterday. Some other big breaking news, things that you probably won't hear anywhere else. The latest about Putin and the war there in Ukraine. Things are heating up. They are ratcheting up. Oh, and speaking of which, Biden's at the UN today. It's all coming up in just moments.
News, weather, and traffic. Stories of the day. We're talking about what matters most in West Michigan and beyond. This is the Big Three. Now today's Big Three.
It's all powered by our good friends at Heartland Home Mortgage. They're helping folks along the way in ways that you maybe never even thought of. Put a little bit more money back into your pocket. You just need to make one quick call and figure out if they can help you. 5 minutes is all it takes. Dave Galloway and the team stepping up at 616-974-9105 or online to hhmlending.com. That's Heartland Home Mortgage.
Number one.
Tudor Dixon has called for the resignation of the Michigan State Superintendent, Michael Rice. Of course, some on Twitter calling it a parent revolution taking place.
As governor, I want to be responsible for the outcomes and held accountable for the results. Today, I am here first and foremost calling for the resignation of State Superintendent Michael Rice.
This happened yesterday at a press conference outside the Michigan Department of Education. She was flocked by many different parents, folks who are Republicans there in Lansing, and of course, the left. Now, melting down all across the state and the country as well. What did this have to do with? We'll dig into that coming up in a second, but it's all about this just horrific material that parents are finding are in schools and their children are being subjected to.
Number two.
It's indefensible. Man, President Vladimir Putin ordering partial mobilization there of 300,000 reservists. Basically, it's a draft. They'll be called up according to Russia's defense minister. Putin said he wouldn't rule out using nuclear weapons to defend Russia's position in Ukraine. And of course, we are just moments away from your Biden speaking at the UN. And the good thing about him is that he's a uniter, and that he usually, instead of throwing gasoline on fires and fanning the flames, he just likes to calm people down quite a bit, doesn't he? I'm sure this will be interesting. The Federal Reserve is expected to make history today by raising interest rates by 0.75%, the first time in a row. Economists say there remains a risk, listen to this, that hikes may throw the U.S. into a recession. I say a worse recession because we're there. We are there, and it could be even worse than a recession. You might even want to use the D word. Yes, folks, that's how bad it's getting. And of course, never a dull moment here. The chaos continues to swirl. Oh, man. We're keeping an eye on all of it for you this morning. And of course, you can join the program at any time. 616-774-2424. Tudor Dixon will be joining us coming up about 9:30 this morning, 9:35. Break down some of the story behind the story and what's happening. And of course, why parents are standing up, taking the schools back here in Michigan. It's very reminiscent to what happened in Virginia, in fact. And there are things that some want to make this race about that I think most people aren't concerned with. The biggest top of mind issues right now are the economy. They are obviously crime in a lot of different places. But you think about this. It's cost more to put gas in the car, groceries on the table. We're talking now about power, electric now, the rates for our energy going up. And so we're going to really feel the pinch and even more pain in the wintertime here. And on top of it all, our kids, as we're feeling the attacks financially and whatnot, our kids are being attacked at schools. Some of this radical ideology that's being taught to them, instead of reading, writing, arithmetic, the basics. They're being taught some of the worst woke ideology, some of the things that's so hateful, it's divisive, some of the things that are so inappropriate to talk about with kids, these books with sexually explicit terminology, pornography in a lot of ways that people are making the claim inside the classrooms, inside the libraries, and all of it behind the scenes caught just... I don't know. In the last few weeks, this has really started to bubble up to the surface. Real fantastic people that are fighting parents here in Michigan have found this, and now it's gone viral throughout the country, as Christopher Rufo on Twitter has been tweeting about this stuff and sharing it with people. What is being taught behind the scenes and what this Michigan State Superintendent is signing off on is abhorrent. It's abhorrent. And the gotcha media out there who wants to talk about anything but the actual issues that are affecting folks here in Michigan, the ones that people are really, really concerned about. Trying to play gotcha again yesterday with Tudor Dixon, but she did not let that slide. Listen to this one question by a reporter for Michigan Advance or some sort of newspaper I'm not really too familiar with. But she writes about women's issues and LGBTQ. But this is not an LGBTQ issue, folks. This is an issue about whether or not, in plain and simple terms, kids should be subjected to this type of material. She wants to know what kind of books and what kind of pornography is in these classrooms. How would you define? Listen to the question.
We want to hear from the governor, but we won't, because she agrees with the radical sex and gender activists, and she is counting on the media here to do her bidding.
Wrong clip, but I will find it. She's right. We won't hear from Whitmer. In fact, Whitmer didn't put out a press release herself, didn't put out a statement on any of this herself. In fact, what did she do? She sort of hid behind these other folks and had her chief operating officer. In an election year, wouldn't you want to face the people? Wouldn't you want to talk to your constituents? In an election year, she has some sort of random bureaucrat issue a statement. Well, folks, that's just not enough. It's not going to cut it. The parents are mad. They're taking the state back for their kids. And they said, enough is enough. Not anymore. We won't allow you to do these things to our kids. Of course, Tudor Dixon is standing up. She's fighting the fight. We'll talk to her at 9:35 this morning. Have you seen some of this stuff? I can't even, honestly, I wouldn't want to quote it I would be fined. I'd probably lose my job for quoting this stuff on the radio. And yet, it's fair game for all of your kids in classrooms all across the state. We continue our conversation. You can join the program at any time. The Talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app. Just hit that microphone next to the play button. Rant, rave, ask a question or more. We'll be back after this. Severe thunderstorm warning's been issued, by the way, here in Kent County now until 9:45. We're keeping an eye on that for you as well. Stay with us for the latest.
Hey, West Michigan, it's Schmitty.
Okay. Here we go, folks. I want to say good morning to a couple of people. Let me move through some of we got some phone calls to get. I got some, let's see, we got some talkbacks coming in. Your messages as always. And I just set up something new, actually, a VIP chat over on Locals. If you haven't been over there yet, check it out. I've been posting all kinds of exclusive content on Locals. I think you're going to dig it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to pin this up here. Enable live chat. That's funny the way they put this stuff. All right, so you'll be able to, if you're a member of Locals, supporter, you'll be able to go in and actually chat with me, send me messages, so it'll get priority. Maybe there's a story you want to send me. Maybe there's something important you'd like to bring up. I'll be able to see it there. Of course, I can see everything else in the other chat, but, some of the stuff flies by so fast. I just want to make sure we give you a place to do that. So we've done that as well. All right, let me say good morning to a couple of folks. Good morning, Steve and Charlotte and Rayanne. How are you? Kristen, good to see you. Steve, Debbie, Tammy, Paula, Sherry, Debbie, and Judy Ladina. Marge, Tyler, Matt, many others. Saw some of you actually this morning over on Locals. That was fun. I did a little bit of live stream there. The Rumblers rumbling this morning. Mary Kay, Mando Mark, Dutch Gal, Benjamin Martin, Vicky Woodcock, Gritter Dunn, Roxanne, Lady Blah Blah, many, many others. And also Tanya, Josh, Alex, Miles, Reagan, all over on Getter. Stand by, folks. We're going live. Moving through the phones, we'll grab your call. Also, the Talkback Live feature over on the iHeartRadio app. You can text me, too, at 616-636-1676. Love to hear from you there. by the way, Tudor Dixon will join us coming up, Republican for governor, running against Gretchen Whitmer, who is riding with Biden. Now she's hiding like Biden. She doesn't want to answer questions. She will not. And I guess apparently the press refuses to ask some of these tough questions. And at the end of the day, I think, call me extremist, call me far right, but I believe you deserve answers. That's how this works. And I think sometimes these politicians forget who they work for. Certainly we saw that over the last couple of years. We saw the Wolverine Queen reigning from high above in her ivory palace. She was shouting, barking down demands, and of course, all kinds of edicts. Shutting down the state, throwing people into from sick patients out of hospitals into nursing homes, infecting thousands, killing these patients. It's absolutely horrific. So would you put it past her that the fact that she allows this type of thing on her watch? She allows the kids to be indoctrinated. She allows these kids the horrific things that they're exploiting them with sexually. And this, you couldn't walk out on a street corner and read a book like this to a kid, but they've got it in the library there at school. Dave is on the line this morning. Dave, appreciate you calling in this morning. What can I do for you? Good morning.
Hey, thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
You referred a few minutes ago about Governor Whitmer not wanting to address her constituents. She really doesn't want constituents. She wants serfs. The whole COVID dictatorship proves that. And again, where is the Republican Party? I give Tudor Dixon credit for calling issue to this situation, but where's the Republican Party? Why aren't they picking up the gauntlet here and going and supporting her in her fight to bring decency back into the schools? Really appreciate you taking my call. Thank you.
Dave, I appreciate you. Thank you. There were several that were standing up with her, along with the parents there yesterday in Lansing. And in fact, she was, like I said, flanked by many parents, all holding signs. But also there were folks who are running for office, Republicans who are in legislature there in Lansing. There were folks there supporting, but I get what you're saying. I don't know that and this is not a Republican Democrat thing, folks. I mean, it really isn't. Got into it with somebody on Twitter this morning and say, I can't believe you're a believer. You say you're a believer, and yet you call people names. So I said, these loonies on the left. By the way, the tweet was very simple. One of these loonies on the left, they're out there making fun of this situation because they asked, well, what is porn exactly? Well, can you define what pornography is, Tudor? Can you tell us what it is? The video of this, it's just insane. One of the reporters asking that question. And this guy on the left, 117,000 followers over on Twitter, Tudor Dixon, Republican candidate of governor, Michigan, offering to send porn to a journalist. So you're admitting then, because she said she's sending the books and the materials that are available to the kids in the classroom. You're admitting it's porn then? You're admitting it's pornography. You're admitting that the kids shouldn't have it. Is that what you're admitting? My tweet was simple. These loonies on the left admit it. They've been caught. Dr. Jack Brown, that particular loony on the left. And what would you call it? Is it a better word for it, criminal? What would you call it? Goes on to say, because, the little cross around her neck means it's okay. No. Jack, you've admitted it. It's pornography. Whatever you want to call it, it's inappropriate. And it shouldn't be presented to kids in classrooms. And it's not a Democrat issue. It's not a Republican issue. It isn't partisan at all. It's just right versus wrong, folks. It's good versus evil. You don't do this to kids. You don't do it to children. And if we have to get into some sort of major debate on something like this, then how far have we fallen? How far have we fallen? Some of the things that they want to do to the kids in schools is just unthinkable. It's not extreme. It's not radical to say we want to protect our kids, to keep them as innocent as we can, as long as we can. It's not extreme to say we would like them to learn how to read, write, arithmetic. We would like them to learn how to think, not what to think. Those teachers in schools, some of them, and the administrators are just as guilty. They're more concerned with that than they are with actually giving your kids a real education, not an indoctrination. Now, there are good teachers out there, and we ought to pray for them, folks. Those kids are under attack on a daily basis. We ought to pray for them. Every day they go off, and we don't know what's going to happen to them in schools. And there are parents pulling their kids from public schools all over. Just like the masks on the kids, this stuff is abuse. It's flat out child abuse. And it's time we call it like it is. I got to hand it to Tudor Dixon. She's doing just that. The fight continues. We talk to her next, coming up at 9:35. You can join the program at any time. In just moments, we'll grab your calls and more. Appreciate you being here with us today. Checking the news again. We've got that thunderstorm warning here in effect. Northern Kent County until 9:45. Check in on that on news coverage in just moments. Speaking of the attack, folks, there's an attack on your health, your way of life, and your health. Boy, I tell you, it affects everything, not just how you feel, not just how you are physically, but mentally as well. And guys, I got to tell you, if you're feeling low energy, you're feeling maybe a little weight gain, a little muscle loss, fatigue, irritability, things like that, anxiety and depression, those things can take a toll on how you show up on a daily basis as a father, as a husband, is who you are in the workplace, in your community. You might be suffering from low testosterone. The folks at Mentality want to help. Mentality is a local healthcare facility specifically dedicated to helping men feel and perform at their very best. Because you know what? We need you. Your family needs you. The folks around you. We all need you. The fight must go on, and we need folks to stand up and fight. You got to have everything it takes, by the way. We've got, the fight is so important. We need you, folks like you in a battle. Find out more about their FDA-approved testosterone treatment. Their board-certified physicians can work with most insurance. Mentality, you can check them out today at lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com. Go to lowthusa.com today. All right, folks, we are rolling fast and furious this morning. Oh, no, Matt says another BP oil refinery caught fire yesterday and had an explosion in Ohio. Thank you for the update, Matt, on the VIP chat over on Locals. JustinBarclay.com/locals. If you haven't done that yet, you can go on over and join for free, but you can also send me those VIP messages if you are a supporter. It's just $7 a month. And if you get an annual membership, you get 2 months free. All right. Stand by. Let me make sure I'm signed in here. Having a hard time getting in to see the talkbacks today. Maybe looks like some sort of glitch in the system. Cassie says, you could tell the material is porn when the board won't let you read it at a meeting. They won't let you read it at a meeting. If I said it on the radio, I'd be fined and, of course, probably fired. It's inappropriate for public consumption, let alone for your kids. We know what it is. This is not tough. I mean, we know what's going on here. It's just a simple situation. And yet here we are. Stand by, folks. Got to do something real quick here. Let me make sure. Oh, Biden's clarified his COVID. Remember he said the pandemic was over? Turns out Fauci has pulled him back, yanked him back on his leash. Yeah, we'll get the latest on that coming up in a second. The Rona Report. You won't want to miss it. Stand by. Okay. I'm trying to find the piece where the reporter asks about the what, because the guy who I retweeted who admitted it was porn. He blocked me. Immediately blocked. The tolerant left immediately blocked me. So trying to see if I can find that clip. It is wild. You just can't make this stuff up, folks. You can't make it up. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah. Oh, you gotta love this. Let me play this coming back on the air, but.
Can you define what pornographic means for you in terms of books and K-12?
Can you define what pornographic means for you?
Do you need me to define pornographic? I mean, I can if you want me to. All right, so there's two naked people, and they are acting out a sexual act.
Mm-hmm.
So in multiple different sexual acts, do you want me to send you some so you can see them? That would be fine, because I feel like it would be a little awkward.
We've got plenty here to show you.
And they've gone crazy on this, by the way. The left has just lost it. They've lost it on this talking point, which is beautiful, because they've shifted the narrative to what we care about, what average everyday people care about, which is just trash in the classrooms. And they've admitted that it's porn. Well, there is a legal definition of what porn is, but I'm not going to get into that because that doesn't matter. One of the definitions is you know it when you see it. That's one of the definitions. But it is material that is absolutely incredibly inappropriate for kids to have, and at school, mind you. Stand by, folks. Live, back on the air in moments. Tudor Dixon joining us coming up here. Republican governor candidate Tudor Dixon yesterday calling for the resignation of the superintendent there in Michigan. We'll talk about why coming up here in just a moment. The press conference, she's fighting for the parents, fighting for the kids, parents joining her around 40 or 50 there at Michigan Department of Education yesterday. And one of the reporters, it's really odd, doesn't quite have a handle on it, asks, what's her definition of the inappropriate material that these kids are being given in classrooms and in libraries? It's shocking. If you didn't hear that, can you define what pornographic means to you?
You need me to define pornographic? I mean, I can if you want me to. All right, so there's two naked people, and they are acting out a sexual act. So in multiple different sexual acts. Do you want me to send you some so you can see them? That would be fine, because I feel like it would be a little awkward.
We've got plenty here to show you.
It's pretty simple. Anyone, any right-minded individual. This is not about politics, folks. It's not about left or right. It's not Democrat or Republican. It's anybody that takes a look at this with a brain, with half a brain, would know that it's wildly inappropriate for kids. Tudor Dixon joins us on the phone right now. Tudor, good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you? I think that that's the key here is that I was reading some of the headlines after this, and it was like, Tudor Dixon talks about maybe banning pornographic books in school. And I thought, how can anybody go, no, do not do that. We have to have porn in schools. It's bizarre.
One of the tweets came yesterday that just blew me away from one of these folks that I just foaming at the mouth about this. And a guy says, Tudor Dixon, candidate for offering to send porn to a journalist. And then it goes on to say, to question your faith, et cetera. And I thought to myself, so you don't realize it, but you're actually admitting that what these kids have access to, these books, et cetera, are pornographic and they're wildly inappropriate. But they are so caught up in this whole political debate that they can't understand. Again, this isn't about politics. This isn't right versus left. This isn't Democrat, Republican. This is wrong and right. And I don't care who you are, parents. We know whether or not our kids should have access to this stuff. It's very obvious.
And I think the important thing here to talk about is that no matter what your faith or your culture, parents don't want this in the classroom. And the point is that if sending you something is so offensive, if sending you something that comes out of our classrooms is so offensive, then your report should be, this is outrageous that we have failing reading scores, that kids can't do math problems in the state of Michigan, and yet we're focused on this. These books that are highlighting horrific acts, illegal acts in the state of Michigan. And we have these in our schools. We're talking about things that have nothing to do with education. But, the reason we were there is because of what they're trying to put in our schools and train our teachers. And if you look at this latest training, what they're talking about is we went to the classroom, asked them their pronouns, asked them their name, and tell them, if you want to have a different name than you do at home and a different identity at school, we will keep that from your parents. But it goes a step further. And it says, if that child is suicidal, this is a time when you should keep the parents and let the child lead. When have we ever seen a situation where parents are being told, well, they're not being told anything about their own child's health? If the child is in a dangerous situation, don't tell the parents. We've never, ever seen this before. And so you had two Board of Ed members come out and say, because the superintendent is saying, no, I'm keeping these training videos. I'm going to keep these training videos. I think they're important. Two members of the Board of Ed came out and said, we think that Superintendent Rice needs to resign. We agree. We agree because this is that moment when you start keeping things from parents. What's next that you're going to keep from parents? Are you going to keep struggling grades from parents? Are you going to lie about the grades that the child is getting? Where does it stop? We're talking about a child's mental health being kept from the parents. It's unheard of. And parents across the state are completely outraged. Where is Gretchen Whitmer on this subject? Because we're out there talking to the press. The press can ask all the bananas questions they want, but guess what? I'm talking to them. I'm sitting there in front of those microphones almost every week now saying, you ask us what you need to know about what we're going to do for the state. But Gretchen Whitmer won't even answer this question. Are you okay with lying to parents in our schools? Gretchen, where are you?
Yeah, she's nowhere to be found. She was right, Biden, and now she's hiding like Biden. She doesn't want to answer the questions because she knows she doesn't have a legitimate answer for these. The answer, there is no answer for why do you want to indoctrinate our kids? Why do you want to put our kids at risk? I can't imagine. My little girl's 21 months. I can't imagine when she gets the age she goes to school and she's suffering horrible mental issues. The school's tough. It's tough growing up as it is anyway. There's so many issues these days in social media, so many threats kids are facing right on a daily basis. And they go off to school and they gotta face more. And if they are suffering and we're not told about it, the teachers hear about it and they don't tell the parents what's going on so they can give them a heads up. How many kids have we lost to suicide because of the last couple of years and everything they had to go through, the mental anguish they had to go through? How many kids have we lost that maybe could have been saved if the parents just would have known, if they would have been made aware? And these radical policies.
Ignoring a child's mental anguish, ignoring an issue like this, not only puts that child in danger, but it puts every child in that school in danger. And that's what we've been trying to talk about. How do we make sure we come around these students? How do we make sure we identify these things before they happen? And now you have a training coming out of the Department of Ed saying hide it and put all of our students at risk. And then this idea that parents are not the ones that care most about their child is outrageous, but they're pushing this. This is the new demonization of parents. This has been happening slowly across the country. We've seen it happen with police officers, and now they're going after mom and dad. We are done. We are done with the attacks on the people that take care of us. We're done on the attacks on mom and dad. We're done with the attacks on our seniors, and we are done with the attacks on our first responders. We are taking this state back, and we're going to uplift and respect the people who deserve that.
Tudor Dixon with us right now. She's running for governor here in Michigan, TudorDixon.com. I got to ask you, what did you hear from parents? You had a solid 40, 50 parents flanking you there at the Michigan Department of Education yesterday to support. I can imagine how lost they felt. There's no one out there fighting for them in the last couple of years. Nobody's listening. Now they've got somebody who's standing up and saying, not on my watch. What were you hearing from those parents?
I mean, we got messages all evening last night saying, thank you for standing for us. This is what we're seeing this is what we saw in Virginia. This is a powerful movement. You anger the moms and the dads of the country, and you're going to hear from them. They're not going to stay quiet. And so they're very happy to hear somebody is stepping up, but they're also, it's so funny because they're so angry about this and they're so serious about this, and they've been working on this for years. This is not something that's happening overnight. And when we started working on getting positive messaging to kids in 2017, parents groups then were working with us in the state of Michigan to say, we've got to have parents' rights in education. So these are moms and dads that have been mobilized for a long time, waiting for someone to say, I stand for you, and I will stand with you, and I will serve you. And we are so proud. I am so proud to have the opportunity to stand with those women because they fight so hard. And most of all, they said, we will, anybody who wants them, we will send these books to them so that they can see how absolutely horrific the things are that are in our schools right now, while we sit by and watch our children struggle to read, struggle to do math. They are not getting accurate civics lessons. As we see the education system in the state of Michigan continually decline, a system that was 38th in the nation before COVID, which is now headed toward the bottom 5 states in the nation, and these latest test scores are horrendous. As we see a declining education system, parents are uprising more and more because they want to make sure their kids have opportunity in life, that no child is left behind, and that they are the ones making the decisions, and that they are also included in what's happening in the 8 hours of a day that their child is at school and not being lied to.
Tudor Dixon with us right now, TudorDixon.com. Now, I know that she's hiding. She's probably in the basement. I don't know if they have a basement there at the governor's mansion or not, but if they if they do. She's in it right now. Gretchen Whitmer doesn't want to answer these questions, but she certainly doesn't want to face you in a debate. That's why she's put it off. In fact, folks, the voting is beginning to it's going to start here in just days with the absentee ballots, and yet she doesn't want to debate before that happens. She is putting that off. What do you say to Gretchen Whitmer, who refuses to sit down with you until later?
We think that the people of Michigan deserve to hear from her. It is appalling that she hasn't come out and spoken to the media, that she won't do a press conference, that she won't do an interview. The people of Michigan see this. We're glad that they see this. This is who she's been for 4 years. She wouldn't work with the legislature. She wouldn't listen to parents when they were so desperately asking her to let their children go outside and play. She wouldn't listen to restaurant owners when she kept their restaurants shut down longer than any other state. This is par for the course. Do not believe that 4 more years is going to change who Gretchen Whitmer is. She is someone who reigns like a queen and doesn't listen to anyone. She's just showing her true colors. We think it's unfortunate, but thank you for the win. We will continue talking to people.
I know folks would like to see you out. They want to ask questions. They want to talk to you, want to have those conversations. I know you're welcome to do that. In fact, you've been here in Kent County. You've been all throughout the state, and you've got another big event coming up Friday in Muskegon, where folks are very excited to come out and meet you and some of the other candidates as well. Would you love to tell some folks about that and what's happening on Friday?
Yes, we're very excited. 4 o'clock on Friday, we will have Donald Trump Jr. at a rally with us in Muskegon. The Muskegon GOP is hosting that. They've got information out there. We have information out there on Facebook, on Twitter. Make sure you attend. It's going to be a great afternoon. We are so pleased to see the interest from on the national level from folks outside of the state coming in, and certainly from the Trump family. So please come out and visit with us, and we'll be traveling around the state. So if you can't come to Muskegon, we'll be in your area soon, and we'll be posting that so we can chat.
Tudor,
as I've said, we're out there to talk to people.
Tudor Dixon for governor. Thank you so much, Tudor, for taking the time to talk to us. And again, always open, always willing to come on and answer these questions. TudorDixon.com. You can go support, definitely help with donations, yard signs, things like that. You want to maybe even get together and go knock on doors and talk about these issues, amongst your neighbors, amongst friends and family. That's how we went. We have to have these tough conversations, and I know people are willing to do that. Tudor, thank you so much for continuing the fight.
Well, thank you for fighting. We appreciate you.
TudorDixon.com. There she is, folks. More coming up in minutes. You'll get it all coming up in just moments at 616-774-2424. Join the program. More phone calls coming your way. And yes, the conversation continues as we've got a jam-packed after show right after this. Hang on. All right, there you have it, folks. Times and locations on Tudor's page. Let me see if I'll pull that up for you so you can see that too. Folks, this is important because this is an issue they don't want us to talk about. We've got to continue to make this forefront. It's front and center. This is the issues they don't want folks to talk. They want to talk about, abortion. They want to talk about all these things that they think benefit themselves. But they don't want to talk about any of the reality of what you and I are facing on a daily basis. The sad reality of where we are, where we find ourselves and our kids, what they're doing to us here in Michigan, what they've been doing. It's time. It's time to step up. Folks are fighting back. And I know people are very excited to see someone like Tudor in the fight with them. So we got to continue to get the word out because you and I, we're excited about this type of thing, right? You and I are paying attention. We're always paying attention. But there are average, everyday folks out there who aren't paying attention 24. So they're not like the political, sort of the geeks on this stuff where they, we're analyzing it up and down and talking about all these different pieces. There are people that are they're not checked out, but they're not checked in, if you know what I mean. They're watching their football. They just want to get their kids to school and soccer practice and put food on the table, et cetera. And then they got to deal with this stuff. And if they understand what's happening, if we can have those tough conversations with them, if we can do those things together and bring this stuff up, I think we move the needle. Muskegon meet and greet, the rally with Tudor Dixon. I believe Matt DiPerno, Christina Caramo will be there, Donald Trump Jr. All going down 4 p.m. in Muskegon Friday. 4 p.m. in Muskegon Friday. So if you can get out there. Cindy, it's not again. They'll be up there in your area. They're always around the state. They were just up there. You're in your neck of the woods. In fact, I think it was a week or so back. They were just up there. They're crisscrossing the state. I would not want to run for anything statewide because the miles you put on your car. I was talking to Ryan Kelly about that the other day. I think he put 100,000 miles on his car running around the state. And he continues to do so. I had a great conversation with him last night, as a matter of fact, about voting no on these proposals. All these horrific proposals. You're right, Laura. John Gibbs will be there too. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That's another great point. So this is just one of them. And then Donald Trump, President Trump himself, coming to the east side of the state, Macomb County, on October 1st. It is. Put those dates on the calendar. Hang on, we got to go back on the air. A jam-packed after show joining us at the behind-the-scenes live stream. You can get all of the action, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter, and all the rest of the places. JustinBarclay.com. We start that up coming up in just a moment. Rich on the line. Appreciate you being here with us this morning, Rich.
Morning. How are you?
Great. What can I do for you?
I was at the meeting last night in Holland, and Ryan left because he had another appointment to go to. Just as I was getting ready to ask the question, Steve said that was the last question to be asked.
What's your question? You got me. I'll answer it for you.
On Proposal 3, that they're trying to get passed with this transgender and cutting off body parts and giving these kids hormone pills.
Yeah.
Taken, without consent of the parent. What happens, okay, if an adult rapes your child? Are they gonna just like throw that out of court because of all this other stuff that they're taking consent away from the parents with?
Rich, you bring up a very good point. It's a horrific point, but it is a fact. And thank you for your call. I appreciate it. I've talked about this a little bit, but this radical extreme proposal, they call it an abortion, like it's a pro-choice thing, but it's really not. Folks that are pro-choice or even called pro-abortion have even said that this thing goes too far because it takes parental consent away. If your kid gets raped, can go out and it's horrible. Statutory rape specifically by another somebody in authority. We talked about this the other day. You may never know. And that person, because the way the thing's worded, it would be in our Constitution as a state. It says every individual has a right to reproductive freedom. So forget abortion. And let's even forget the wildly radical gender surgeries on children and minors. But yes, there is great concern about even statutory rape and what this might do to harm to minors and many other kids who are, well, they're going to be left open and vulnerable because this thing says every individual has a right to reproductive freedom. It doesn't put an age limit on any of it. It's wildly extreme. It's wildly radical. And that's why, folks, I think are going to vote no in November. We've got to get the word out about it because, as you know, the folks on the left want this thing. There's a reason for that. There's a very deep, dark, secret reason for it, and I'll discuss it during the after show. It ties into something else that we're talking about in the after show today. I don't know if you've seen what's happening down in Tennessee, in Nashville. One of the big hospitals, Vanderbilt, caught exclusive videos exposing the guy that did What Is a Woman. Matt Walsh has exposed some of the things that are happening behind the scenes, and it is dark stuff. We'll talk about that during the after show this morning. You can join us on that program off the air. We stream it live behind the scenes, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter. I had some folks yesterday. By the way, great meeting. Thank you, Rich, for coming out, and many others. Got a chance to meet some of these folks. A great meeting at Ottawa County Patriots last night to discuss these things. But it's bad stuff. Well, somebody said, I wish you could be on a little bit longer. Well, that's why we started the after show, the podcast, the iHeartRadio app as well.
The price of food at the grocery store has gone up, and there's no telling when it'll go back down.
It's pretty tough out here for the prices, yeah. I bought some pickles yesterday at the grocery store, and they were $5. I was in shock.
It is bad. Prices on everything through the roof, and things are about to get even worse. We're waiting at news from the Fed today. We'll give you the latest when we hear that. Oh, my goodness. Fed raising interest rates yet again, and a recession, they say. I call it a depression because the recession's already here. Things are going to get even worse, they say, folks. Yep. We're keeping an eye on all of it for you. We'll continue our conversation. As always, thank you to you for being here with us. Stay in the fight. Lots to be excited about and encouraged by. Back after this, the behind-the-scenes live stream continues with our after show. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 9:06. Make it a great day. God bless. All right, we'll get the after show going. Yeah, this stuff that's come out is just sick. There's new video. Oh. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you. Vote no on all three. No. Over $8 for a pack of bacon. I know, but it's so delicious. You're right, though. It's crazy, these prices. Hang on. Click a few buttons. We'll get things rolling on the after show. All right. Welcome to the after show. It's the show after the show. Benjamin Martin over on Rumble puts it, the defecation is about to hit the oscillation. That's one way to put it. But no, not the after show. No. Even though they have said it's like drinking from a fire hose. Some would say a sewage pipe at some points. The sewage pipe.
Good morning. How you doing, my friend? Good to hear your knowledge and wisdom. It's like, again, drinking from the fire hose.
Or the sewage pipe. The defecation and the oscillation, we'll put it that way. Yeah, no, I don't want to think about that either. I don't, but that's the way it feels sometimes, isn't it? Holy moly. Lots to cover. Lots we haven't gotten a chance to get to today yet on the fastest hour radio, which has just flown by. Putin, another 300,000 going into Ukraine. He says he's not ruling out the nuclear weapons. And Federal Reserve, speaking of the nuclear option, 0.75% rate. Let's check the stock market really quickly. We're going to get into all of that as well. But let's just check where we at with the we're up. We're up 174 points. Dow Jones probably up before we hear what's going to happen with the Fed. We get that full news. We're up. It's nuclear war being threatened over here by Putin, and the stock market is up. Some of this stuff never ceases to amaze me. Never ceases to amaze me. And then something happened last night that is really a sign of something that is just... I mean, really the only way to put it, I think, is a symptom of the Biden unity pledge. They're pouring in at the UN right now, speaking of which he's going to speak in just moments. Putin is threatening nuclear retaliation against the West. That's the headline on Fox News, and I'm sure Biden will just calm things down, won't he? I'm sure he would just like to bring everybody back down to some of this stuff you got to shake your head at, right? So we get into all that today, plus the latest in Vanderbilt and what's happening to the kids. It's a war on our kids. A war on our kids continuing. Bad news for Democrats, too. But first, let's talk about Patriot Switch, one of our sponsors today. The folks at Patriot Switch helping you make the switch. Save a little money. Support some Patriots. No more buying things from China. I get it. You want to save a little dough? I'd love to do so as well. What if you could also take a stand against some of those things that are horrific? Some of the slave labor that's happening in China. Of course, we continue, as we buy more and more from those folks, we continue to push jobs out of America. We have shortage issues. We have supply chain problems. We have things that are issues of national security on a daily basis. Meanwhile, we're continuing to support these woke companies. That's straight out of China, all that garbage. They want to divide us as we see the things that are happening there. Maybe it's time to make the switch. We vote with our dollars. Whether we realize it or not, we vote with our dollars. Stop giving your money to the mainstream. Folks who are feeding the mainstream media beast. Stop giving your money to those woke conglomerates. Make the switch with PatriotSwitch.com today. Some of the folks that are, family-owned organizations, some of the folks that are stepping up to do the right thing, I think you'll love what you find. We have, over the last several months, we made the switch in February. Go to patriotswitch.com. When you go to patriotswitch.com, you'll find out everything that's going on. First name, last name, your phone number, your email, your blood type, your social security. No, I'm just kidding. Just put in your information so one of the Patriots like me, like you, can reach out and contact and say, hey, here's what we're doing. We need your help. And, of course, if you're open to this, you can help make a big difference. That's how it works. Thanks to the folks at patriotswitch.com today. More news coming in. Sherry says, my cousin works at the railway in Flint. He's nervous about striking. We continue to have more news about that coming in. We thought we were out of the woods, but not quite yet. Matt told us early on the VIP chat at Locals, justinbarclay.com/locals. If you're a supporter, you can get in and send me messages that I'll see immediately, if not sooner. Another oil refinery caught fire yesterday in Ohio. Keeping an eye on that as well as things continue to ratchet up. And then Americans are hurting. This is no secret, and it shouldn't necessarily be news to you, but it should at least be talked about in the news. Biden inflation, the cost of everything, out of control right now. People are hurting. And this was covered on Newsy. I don't even know what that is. Listen to this report.
The price of food at the grocery store has gone up, and there's no telling when it'll go back down.
It's pretty tough out here for the prices, yeah. I bought some pickles yesterday at the grocery store, and they were $5. I was in shock. And ice cream was $7, and I was in shock yesterday.
Consumers at this Nashville grocery store say the prices have made them think twice. Olivia Yoakum, a shopper from out of state, says she started stockpiling food because of it.
I've actually started pickling a lot, like canning stuff, just because I think it's going to get a lot worse.
Consumers are spending way more than they used to.
I do a little bit each time because it's just me and my husband. Probably maybe like $40 a week. We spend like $100 a week probably now.
Not only are people spending more, but the higher price tags are also making it harder for people to eat healthier.
I can go get a cheeseburger out of McDonald's and some fries and spend about $5, $6. I come in here and to try to go get a grilled chicken salad. To buy the chicken alone is going to cost me $10, $12. The salad mix will cost you $4, let alone dressing if you're eating dressing. So, it's eating the healthy stuff is way more expensive.
I don't know about that, but it is tough everywhere. And are the prices going down anytime soon? I don't think so. Bad news for Democrats. CNN, of all places, the Clinton Communist News Network, reporting the facts on the data, polling data. Who do you trust more to handle the economy? Republicans or Democrats?
Who do you trust to handle the economy? Democrats 38%, Republicans 52%. If you're Republicans, we talked about immigration earlier in the program. If you're Republicans, you see those numbers and you think, talk about inflation.
Yeah.
Who do you?
It's not just a politics thing, you dweeb. Talk about inflation. Like everything's about messaging. Like everything's about, let's make sure we talk about No, this is what people are really feeling. This is supposed to be the party of compassion, and they yet won't even address it. They won't even talk about, we know people are hurting, but, there's not much we can do. We're working on it. We just, we know that the inflation has been caused by this crazy spending that Washington is doing, the printing of the money. But you know what we're going to do is we're going to spend more money. We're going to print more money to fight inflation with the Inflation Reduction Act, which really does not fight inflation. In fact, it makes things worse. And then we have the border. KJP was out there. I know she's a favorite. KJP was out there answering questions on CNN, or was it PMSNBC last night? Answering the questions about the border, she says, oh no, it's not open. The border's closed. Somebody ought to give her a big dose of reality.
Look, the border is not open. We're doing everything that we can.
The lie detector determined that was a lie. The border is open. It's wide open. In fact, that's what the folks who are coming from all over are telling us. Remember the interview we played the other day? So, no, the border is open. How do you think we got here? Can't make this stuff up. But yet, here she is. They're upset about DeSantis doing this. But here she is admitting, KJP, that the Biden administration flying these folks who illegally cross the border all over the country.
We have some reporting from NBC. The DHS officials have presented the White House with some options, including flying migrants to the country's northern border with Canada to alleviate overcrowding on the U.S.-Mexico border. Under a plan proposed by DHS, migrants would be sent to such cities as Los Angeles, where shelters would get an advance warning to have time to prepare for the influx. Now, I know some people are going to say, sending migrants on planes, wait, alarm bells. Tell me how that is meaningfully different than what DeSantis and Abbott are doing.
So let me just say a couple of things about what's happening at the border. The DHS put out a report laying out what kind of a migration situation that we're dealing with, which is very new. I mentioned Venezuela, I mentioned Nicaragua, I mentioned Cuba. We have seen an increase of about 121% since last year of what's going on.
Why do you think that is? You left the gate wide open. You're not making your point. And then she dodges the rest about, you're flying people all over. Remember when they would drop these planes were dropping secretly in the middle of the night under the cover of darkness in states like New York and all. They're dropping these kids off on these planes, these unaccompanied minors. Do you remember that? She doesn't like this when Ron DeSantis does it, governor of Florida, but they're doing it themselves. And she's really not denying it. She's just kind of changing the subject and won't answer it head on. But KJP has been caught in a trap of her own making.
Has the president reached out to any of these governors?
So here's the thing, and I was asked this question earlier today. I don't know why we would reach out to a governor or governors who are clearly playing a political game.
Oh, you don't?
Right? It is something that they're doing not to find a solution, but to literally put people's lives at risk. Has the president...
This whole thing's political. That's what it's all about. You think they really care? You think the Democrats really care about people? They showed us time and time again they don't care about people. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They care about their own power. And these folks are being used as pawns in the middle of it all. It's absolutely horrific. Tragic. On top of it, as she said, it's, what was the word she used? Putting their lives at risk to send these folks to other cities. How is that so? In fact, they've been saying this over and over and over and over again for how long now? It's just not so. The border is secure. The border is secure. Whether it's word salad, Kamala Harris, KJP, flipping through her binder trying to find the right answer, or any number of these folks trying to say, no, the border is secure. It's closed. No, it's closed. Brilliant piece here that juxtaposed. If you're watching the behind-the-scenes live stream, the video, you'll see the pictures that prove. Let's just see for yourself. It's wide open.
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration.
We have taken unprecedented action over the past year and a half to secure our border.
And we have a process in place to manage migrants at the border. We're working to make sure it's safe and orderly and humane.
The border is closed.
We agree that the border is secure.
The border is secure.
Yeah. Apparently, lie detector determined that was a lie.
A secure border.
No, you don't. No, you don't. In fact, you don't want a secure border. If it were secure, we wouldn't have 4.4 million illegal border crossings under Biden. 850,000 gotaways crossing the border, escaping to the U.S. That's the ones we know about. DeSantis has been brilliant on this. He is displaying why he is a master. In fact, he may even be taking Trump's game up a notch in some areas because the one thing that he hadn't done, I saw a guy talk about this the other day. I thought it was a really interesting point. DeSantis has got the background, Navy SEAL, the pedigree, playing baseball. Was it Harvard? Running the free state of Florida, making the right decisions during the pandemic. And now he successfully turned the narrative nationally, anyway, to the border, away from abortion and the things that they want to talk about on the left, because they just feel like it'll drive voter turnout for them. Well, here he is just masterfully answering this question about what's happening on the border and the fake outrage we hear from the left.
He said you and Governor Abbott need to start acting like governors and stop acting like human traffickers. First, what is your response to that? And second, is there a second migrant flight going from Texas to Delaware right now?
So when Biden is flying these people all over the fruited plain in the middle of the night, I didn't hear a peep out of those people, okay? I didn't hear a peep. Thank you. I haven't heard a peep about all the people that have been told by Biden you can just come in, and they're being abused by the cartels. They're drowning in the Rio Grande. You had 50 that died in some shed in Texas. I heard no outrage about any of that. I haven't heard outrage about all the fentanyl that's come across the border that's killing Americans in record numbers. I don't hear outrage about the criminal aliens that have gotten through and have then victimized people, not only in Florida, but all throughout the country. I didn't hear any outrage about that. The only thing I hear them getting upset about is you have 50 that end up in Martha's Vineyard. Then they get really upset.
Isn't that something? They don't care until they end up in their own backyard. Everything else is fair game, though. Fantastic points. Ron DeSantis absolutely smashing the narrative. Fantastic points. You got to hand it to him. By the way, I've got coffee. Do I want to do the coffee and COVID stuff, the Rona report? Let me start with that. I'm going to get into that because he's written some really good things today in Coffee and COVID. The attorney, Jeff Childers, down in Florida, who writes obviously about coffee and COVID. But he gets into all kinds of legal matters, some of which we haven't had a chance to discuss just yet. But some things that I mentioned earlier that I definitely want to get to is some of this crazy, the videos that are coming and the proof out of Nashville, out of Tennessee, and Vanderbilt and the hospital. What they're doing to kids is unthinkable. A high priest of health himself, St. Anthony of Wuhan, Mr. Booster, Tony Fauci's Rona Report. Yes, we're chucking the elf. He's getting chucked soon. Cannot wait. Cannot wait, folks. Biden has clarified his stance on the COVID comments. Here, you ready for it? Remember he said the pandemic was over just the other day. In fact, he told CBS 60 Minutes it's over. Now he's come out to clarify those comments because, again, Fauci is pulling him around by the leash, or somebody. Obama, somebody in the earpiece, somebody is yanking his chain. I don't know who it is exactly, but now he's coming out to clarify his comments on the matter. No, the pandemic's not over, he said, but basically it's not where it was. That's the quote. President Biden on Tuesday sought to clarify his comments from days earlier that the coronavirus pandemic is over, telling guests at a fundraiser the COVID-19 situation is not as bad as it was. It's not over. No, because we've got to continue to push all of that junk that we've been pushing on you, the masks, the jabs, the control. We got to push it all on you. So it's not completely over, but it's not as bad as it was. He attended a DNC fundraiser in New York City, having a speech at the UN. At one point, speaking about efforts on the pandemic, Biden referenced his comments to Scott Pelley of CBS last week, in which he said the pandemic was over. Biden acknowledged he was criticized for the remarks, adding, but it basically is not where it was. That's the quote. It basically is not where it was.
Come on, man.
Well, that's clarification, I guess. According to the news media. There's nothing clarifying about Biden at all. He also urged those in attendance to get boosters. Get your booster. Hey, everybody, get your booster. Speaking of boosters, how about this? The hospital with the first jab mandate in the country. You remember Houston Methodist? The first jab mandate in the country has now told people that they don't have to get a booster. Isn't that interesting? Becker's Hospital Review with the report here from an industry trade publication. Houston Methodist not mandating updated boosters for workers. Huh. Oh, they strongly recommend it, but they're not mandating it. We strongly recommend you get the booster to keep our patients, you, and your family even safer. Dr. Phillips wrote in an email, the chief physician executive, the CEO of the group. At this time, Houston Methodist will not mandate the new booster. We will continue to follow the scientific data, the level of infections in the community, and the availability of vaccines, and may mandate the new booster in the future. Oh, yes, we may change our mind because, the science is always changing. No, the science never changed. The politics changed. But it's good news, folks. It's good news because the walls are crumbling. And I heard a sports report today. I had no idea this was a thing. But Canada, they are doing away with their vaccine, with their jab mandate, allowing hockey players into the country now to be able to play. Couple of big news stories on this. It's not just hockey players, but it's other folks as well. Canada preparing to drop jab mandate at border, according to government sources. They're preparing to drop that mandate by the end of September. Multiple government sources have told this publication, Global News, also confirming the use of controversial Arrive Can app to provide vaccination information to border officials would become optional once the restrictions are lifted. Plans still need to be finalized by dictator Justin Trudeau. The sub-prime minister of Canadian land. Tim said, my girlfriend is a doctor. She had a patient with 5 jabs test positive, and the person just didn't understand how. We've lost all sense of being able to think critically these days, haven't we? Completely lost all sense of it. Another big story that's making the rounds today is actually this story that's coming out of Nashville in Tennessee. And it's related. It's related to the nonsense that we continue to see happening here. But Matt Walsh, the Daily Wire, broke a terrific story yesterday about the investigation into Vanderbilt University's appalling and apparently highly profitable medical experiments on children. Governor Bill Lee announced the state of Tennessee will investigate the hospital, the pediatric transgender clinic. Imagine that there is such a thing, a pediatric transgender clinic. Listen, these things that you want to do to yourself, whoever you are, you can do them when you're an adult. Whatever happened to under my roof, when you're in my home, when you're going to live this way, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Whatever happened to that? We want to completely now take all of the responsibility and all of the consent away from the parents. There is a reason for that, and it's downright evil. The pediatric transgender clinic, the fact that that's even a thing, should absolutely infuriate people. Why people in Nashville and throughout the state of Tennessee aren't down there with pitchforks and torches, I don't know. But folks, we get the government, we get the society, we get the hospitals, all of this stuff happens because some of us won't speak out, and many others of us will not say this is not right. And I don't mean take action in terms of doing anything wrong, illegal, violent, etc. But how are these universities, how are these programs getting funded? One of the points brought up last night at last night's meeting was when you got to stop funding China. How do you do that? If you have a retirement account, call, find out. Do any of your investments include BlackRock, Vanguard, any of those companies? Call your person today and tell them that you want to switch to get you out of them. We should not allow permanent life-altering decisions that hurt children or policies that suppress religious liberties of all for the purpose of financial gain. Governor Bill Lee said we have to protect Tennessee children, and this warrants a thorough investigation. In the expose, Matt Walsh included 2 video clips from whistleblowers. In the first clip, you can see and hear nurse McCarran, health law expert Ellen Clayton, scolding Vanderbilt doctors who might consider raising conscientious objections to the hospital's glorious new plan to revolutionize childhood through surgery. Here is what she says, and she herself, I think you might be able to ask a question about what exactly her motives are and who she is. The grooming process is taking place here. Dr. Ellen Clayton. Conscientious objections are problematic, she says. Anyone who decides not to be involved in transition surgeries due to religious beliefs will face consequences. Well, that's a threat, isn't it? Something about that sounds really illegal. Here she is in her turtleneck and her blazer with her PowerPoint.
If you are going to assert conscientious objection, you have to realize that that is chronic. You are doing something to another person, and you are not paying for the cost for your belief.
A child, if you are conscientiously objecting to these radical surgeries, these experiments, these medical experiments on children, then you're problematic. These people need to be arrested.
I think that is a real, I think that's a real issue. So I think, so yes, Vanderbilt, if someone has a conscientious objection to
She realizes she stepped in it there. She realizes it. She's stumbling. I got to make sure I'm not saying anything that
participating in this sort of surgery, it probably has to accommodate you to the extent that you can find another person who can do your job, who doesn't have an objection, other things of that nature. But I just want you to take home that saying that you're not going to do something because of your conscientious, because of your religious beliefs, is not without consequences, and it should not be without consequences. And I just want.
In other words, you have a choice, but you have no choice other than the choice that we've given you, which is a choice, but it's not really choice. There will be consequences for your choice. So should you choose your choice, just know that your choice comes with consequences. So feel free to make the choice that we want you to make.
I want to put that out there. We are given enormous. If you don't want to do this kind of work, don't work at Vanderbilt.
Wow.
If
And again, folks, Karen Mangala there is, she's just absolute. This is evil incarnate. It's unthinkable, the things that they're planning to do to kids. But there's even more insidiousness behind it. You know that there's big money in this? Essentially, she's saying there's big money in this. There's big money in this from insurance companies. There's big money from insurance companies in all of this. And if you get in the way, just know, if you get in the way, you're going to be causing a problem. That's going to be problematic. She and Fauci would be two peas in a pod. Speaking on the money involved in it all.
On January 1st of 2017, according to the Affordable Care Act, insurance carriers are mandated to cover medical expenses for trans folks. Some of our BUMC financial folks in October of 2016, started a couple of years ago, put down some costs of how much money we think each patient would bring in. And this is only including top surgery. This isn't including any bottom surgery. And it's a lot of money. These surgeries make a lot of money. So female to male chest reconstruction can bring in $40,000. A patient just on routine hormone treatment, who I'm only seeing a few times a year, can bring in several $1,000. That requires a lot of visits and labs. It actually makes money for the hospital.
So that's why we're doing it. We're throwing the needs of the patient out the window because these things make money for the hospital. You see, that's why we have to. Is that why they were killing patients in hospitals during COVID? Because the government was giving them all of this money, all of this federal funding, and it just makes money. Putting patients on ventilators, giving them the remdesivir, the remdesivir, giving them that special treatment, the Fauci cocktail. It just makes money because every test positive that we get money for. Every patient that we bring in, we give every patient that we put on a vent and give them the cocktail, we make money for. And then, yes, every patient that dies is a COVID patient we get money for. So it's very profitable, as you can see. It would be problematic. It would be problematic if you were against any of this. This is the issue with our hospitals right now. The doctor in this clip, Dr. Shane Taylor, explaining how she convinced Nashville to get into the transgender transition game, emphasizing it's a big moneymaker because the surgeries require a lot of follow-ups, the horrific surgeries. She also states inside that clip that Obama's Affordable Care Act requires medical providers to offer trans services. That translates to, we're getting a lot of money for this, and insurance have to pay for it because that's just the law now. So, and by the way, folks, you realize you and I are paying for all of this. Maybe we should all switch to like MediShare, these religious medical bill sharing companies. Maybe we should make switches because they don't have to do these things. Maybe there are some that are standing up and saying, I'm not going to. Maybe we should all just drop our insurance and go a different direction. Just for top surgery alone, $40,000, she says they make. Phalloplasties are huge moneymakers, she explains. They're labor intensive. They require a lot of follow-up. They require a lot of OR time, and they make money for the hospitals. A phalloplasty, in case you're wondering, is a horrific surgery. Rush used to call it the addictomy, but it's a horrific surgery where they actually cut out portions of the arm, and it's horrible. I'm not gonna show you, but they cut out portions of the patient's arm to take skin and muscle and meat in a biological female to add to her nether regions. Lots of money. Lots of money in it all. Just like COVID, these trans surgeries are a huge moneymaker. Now, a look into what we've been seeing happening here in Michigan. The radical proposal that's on the ballot that would take away parental consent, not just for abortions, but we're talking about for all of it. The age of consent that will allow these gender surgeries, etc. The reason we're seeing it's being pushed. In fact, I saw these people walking through my neighborhood, Planned Parenthood volunteers wearing their pink Planned Parenthood shirts. Do you know that Planned Parenthood, particularly in Michigan, is in this business? Yes, Planned Parenthood in Michigan is in the gender treatment. We'll just call it. They call it gender affirming care. They're in the gender radical therapy treatment business, and it is a business here in Michigan, directly from their own website. Gender affirming hormone therapy in Michigan. Planned Parenthood proud to provide it to transgender, non-binary, and gender expansive folks, they say, in all of these different markets, including Grand Rapids. We'll begin offering gender-affirming care via telehealth and in other health centers in the coming months. Gender-affirming care goes far beyond just hormone therapy. You know how much money is in all of this? So they create or they exploit an issue in the mental health of a young individual. And then they say, but we've got something to sell you. Here's the hormone treatment. Here's the surgery. Planned Parenthood of Michigan offers hormone therapy for trans-masculine, trans-feminine, non-binary, gender-expansive people ages 18 and older. Depending on individual patient needs and unique health considerations, we can provide the following hormone care. Feminizing hormone therapy, testosterone blockers, patches, pills, injections, things that are swallowed or dissolved under the tongue, masculinizing hormone therapy, microdose, yada, 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 yada. Oh, folks, it's just so sad. It's just so sad. And the truth behind Planned Parenthood and its inception, if you know anything about where they came from and why they were started, their founder, Margaret Sanger, a eugenicist, a racist. The truth about what exactly she wanted to see and the plans she had for you, me, and the rest of society, particularly for those of color. Well, let's just say the truth is enlightening. The truth is enlightening about Margaret Sanger. Why would a eugenicist? You say, what is exactly a eugenicist? Well, that's someone who wants to see, obviously, population control and the gene pool cleansed. Yes, I mean, you got something wrong with you in their eyes. You undesirable traits, undesirable individuals. I would just get rid of you. That's what she was getting at all this time, Margaret Sanger. That's what it was all about. The truth is really fascinating, and it's just horrifying. And yes, Guess who worked with Planned Parenthood? In fact, was on the board. Planned Parenthood. Well, Bill Gates, his family has a very interesting history with Planned Parenthood. Look into it sometime. You'll find out all about his contributions, the father, Bill Gates' father, and his history. In fact, this is University of Washington Magazine talks about some of the different boards he served on, some of the different places that he did work. Planned Parenthood, one of them. Oh, the family's got a very fascinating history. Growing up all this time, we were just kind of led to believe that Bill Gates was just random guy who just popped up out of nowhere. He was just smart guy with his computer and whatnot. But the fascinating truth about what was going on behind the scenes with Gates, his family, is really interesting stuff. Why would they want? So they want to control the population. Why would they want to kill babies, innocent babies in the womb? And they want to control the population. Why would they want to take innocent children and give them hormone treatments or surgeries that would affect their fertility, their ability to reproduce at all? Less of these individuals reproducing means less people altogether in the population, which means their depopulation agenda, fighting climate change. You know, that very noble goal, fighting climate change. Oh, it's far more sinister than hugging trees, folks. It's about killing people because they don't see the sanctity of life at all. Oh, it's really radical stuff. And maybe we can spend some more time looking into that at some point. Maybe we can spend some more time talking about what's really happening behind the scenes. Maybe one of these days in a podcast, we'll get into that. But today, I'd like to give you a little bit more good news. Because these types of things are happening behind the scenes and you're not hearing about them. And I think that you ought to hear it all. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But you very rarely hear stories like this. The story of how a 73-year-old Texan rescued a woman and thrashed an armed bandit. It's an incredible story. Yet again, average, ordinary citizens, folks standing up doing the extraordinary. Fighting back. Earlier this month, a woman was accosted by an armed robber. She made her way to her vehicle outside a Houston check cashing place, I guess. According to police, the suspect followed her, pointing his gun at the victim, demanding that she hand over her keys. He then went on to choke her. That's when 73-year-old Simon Mansilla Sr., a grandfather, 11 grandkids, rolled up in his truck and said, "Hey, man, don't make a problem." The suspect turned his attention to Mansilla, the bandit, yanked the grandfather out of his truck and climbed inside. While the suspect prepared his getaway, Mansilla threw wide the door, began pulling him out of the vehicle. The suspect repeatedly struck Mansilla in the head with his pistol. Despite his injuries and suffering a wound that would ultimately require several stitches to close, the grandfather leaned into the struggle, delivering a flurry of punches. Two other bystanders reportedly jumped into the fray, but Mansilla had figured himself alone in the ordeal. His son told the TV station KHOU 11 that by the time his father's eyes were full of blood, he couldn't see anymore. Notwithstanding the bystanders' last-minute intervention and a few more blind punches from Mansilla, the suspect peeled away in the truck, nearly running those nearby over. Although he would lose the fight in his truck with it, Mancello won the battle. The woman was safe. I didn't have any choice, he said, concerning his sense of obligation to intervene. Vehicle still reported stolen. The chances that he will get his truck back are not nearly as good as his chances of being robbed and attacked there in Democratic Mayor Sylvester Turner's Houston. Only 14% of carjacking since 2019 reportedly have resulted in an arrest. They are through the roof. Last year, 1,216 carjackings, up from 10% from 2020, 20% from 2019. The likelihood of becoming a victim of either a property crime or a violent crime is 1 in 23, 1 in 78, respectively. But the likelihood of someone like this grandfather standing down, even less. It's not going to happen. He's standing up, fighting back, and he says, no more. Not on his watch. Another situation where someone decided to take matters into their own hands and fight back. Heroes. They're calling them today heroes. They ripped her from her abductor. The Amber Alert proving instrumental in rescuing teenager reportedly kidnapped on Hawaiian Beach. According to reports, Duncan Kaloa, 52, kidnapped Michaela Dabina, 15, last Friday while she was enjoying a day at the beach with her boyfriend. Approximately 1:30 local time, Mahi reportedly approached the couple at the beach on the main island of Hawaii. He then allegedly forcibly approached her at knife point, tied her up, blindfolded her boyfriend so that he could abduct her without the boyfriend's interference. After the two disappeared, law enforcement groups immediately began a manhunt to find him. In fact, the state issued its first ever Amber Alert. It proved to be instrumental in bringing her home. Nearly 24 hours later, folks at Hilo's Cafe Pesto, nearly 70 miles away, were able to help rescue the girl and reunite her with her family when they recognized her from the Amber Alert. A host at the cafe, Bridge Hartman, said he noticed that something was off about the young girl and the older gentleman. The dress she had been wearing at the beach was discovered abandoned with her cell phone near the Kona airport. She's now wearing ill-fitting men's clothes, also having a heated discussion with her companion. Even if it wasn't her, my brain was like, I need to go get her, the man said. Then I realized it was her. I yelled out, that's the girl. That's the Amber Alert girl. He then managed to free her from the man's clutches, steer her towards the rear of the restaurant for safety. Another woman at the restaurant helped her call her mother. Her mother, Cher, called the helpful restaurant employees and patrons heroes. They'd help rip her away from her abductor's hands. The abductor did manage to escape the cafe, but police located him soon afterwards, placed him under arrest for kidnapping. He also had other outstanding warrants for which they arrested him for. Again, real average everyday folks standing up, getting in the way when it comes to evil, and making a difference. These are real-life heroes. And just a little good news I thought maybe we all should enjoy today. Even in the bad, folks, there are things happening that we must not lose sight of. You know, part of this fight, they want us discouraged. They want us dissuaded. They want us feeling hopeless and helpless. And I got to tell you that just certainly isn't the case. You're not alone, and God is still on the throne. Step up, do the right thing, even though sometimes they're hard to do. Increasingly, I think we'll face more challenges as the days go on. It never gets easier, folks, but it does always seem worth it. Well, we appreciate you joining us again for another edition of the After Show. Always a great time having a blast with you. Join us over on Locals if you haven't already done that. You can support us there, just $7 a month. I think that's the cost of a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Not really a Starbucks fan, but the pumpkin spice latte season is on, and a lot of people are into that. Save a cup of coffee, help support us over at Locals. You can join annually and get 2 months free. Lots of great content over there as well. And anytime you help support us, buy a t-shirt, any of those things online, you help make this broadcast possible. Thank you, folks. God bless. Make it a great day.